John Grimes with Jared's Tactical Firearms back with you. In one of our earlier versions, hopefully you've seen it, we talked about some of the very first things you ought to think about if you're a first-time handgun buyer, or maybe the first time in a long time. So for sake of this particular spot, let me suggest that you're at the point where you've already made a decision that you want to purchase a handgun. You want to purchase it for self-protection, either for you personally, your family, your home, your work, whatever. And you've pretty well settled upon either a revolver or an automatic. And I'm going to use these two from our inventory to talk a little bit about the next series of considerations, and that is all about comfort and feel. Now, some people, if they've never bought a handgun before, or they haven't bought one in a long time, when Jared and I and others in the shop hand them a handgun, they're not really sure how to reach and take it from us. That's fine. That should not, the last thing we will ever do is intimidate or make someone feel uneducated about something. But let's say that I'm handing you this handgun, either in the shop, at a gun show, and you take it from me, and I'm asking you to see how it feels. Well, one of the very first things you want to do with any handgun that somebody has handed you is make sure it's unloaded. So if it's an automatic, the magazine needs to come out. There's a magazine release here. You want to make sure whatever safety is off so that you can rack the action back to make sure there's not a live round in there. And as you look and see daylight through the frame, you know that gun is safe. Likewise, in a revolver. Someone hands you a revolver. What you want to do is look at it. You can see if there's anything in there by the daylight behind the cylinder head. But also what you want to do is to open the chamber to look inside to make sure that it doesn't have any live rounds in it. Let's take the automatic first. If you're right-handed, and most of them now are ambidextrous, so it will work more or less the same way whether you're right-handed or left-handed, is the very first thing to notice is the gun, the automatic, will feel a little bit muzzle heavy. And that's only to be expected because it doesn't have a loaded magazine in it. But generally speaking, when you have a loaded magazine in a handgun and you're in the pre-fire position, in other words, the trigger finger is exposed, you want the center of gravity to more or less run through the knuckles of the hand. What that does then is it affords you the opportunity for a firm, tight wrist and then a position of the support hand, either Redfield, modified Redfield, or whatever. The second thing is make sure there's no exposed skin anywhere around a moving part, because these things can bite you. So let's say that this is a good, comfortable stance for you. What you want to do is to align the sights, be sure that you've got a sight picture that you like and the one that you feel like you can find as you're finding a target in your field of vision. But you don't want to get in the habit of breaking the wrist. All the movement should be upper arm and upper body. Very similar with a revolver. When you pick up your revolver and let's say it's unloaded like the one that I just handed you, it will tend to feel a little bit butt heavy because you've got all of this weight back here and none of the ammunition forward to the center of gravity. So when the weapon is full and it's in a good, comfortable pre-firing position, again, you want the center of gravity to be running basically along your knuckles. That affords you optimum control and directional response to move, especially when you've got multiple targets. You engage one, draw down on and engage a second, etc. Likewise, the revolvers notoriously have short butts. In other words, it's very easy for you to run out of gun with a hand left over, especially if you have fairly large hands. Women particularly like the revolver, particularly as their first gun, because it feels so much more comfortable. B, it feels more tailor-made to the shape and size of their hand. And then lastly it's one of these guns that when you put it inside a garment, and you reach for it and you pull the trigger, it's going to fire. And it's going to fire as many times as you can pull the trigger, so long as you got a live round in the chamber. There's no external safety. There's nothing to get in the way of the exposed hammer in this particular one, because it's a shrouded hammer. And so my recommendation is that for anybody, men, women, young or old, if you make the decision to reach for your gun, you need to have already made the decision that you're going to use it. You're not just going to point it at somebody or try to scare them with it. And once you fire it, even if it's a warning shot, but once you fire it, make sure that you're ready to bring it down and engage the target again, and or another target that may come to their aid. So want to encourage you to come by and see us at the local gun show coming up. I think you'll see the contact information on the screen. Come by our shop in Southside. We're always happy to help folks. And the main thing is to help them find the gun that meets their particular need in any given situation. And lastly, let's check us out on our webpage. And again, you'll find all of that contact information somewhere on the screen with me today. Again, John Grimes, Jared's Tactical Firearms. Come see us.